She rejected my proposal after 4 years together, so I ended it, exposed her secret affair, and kicked her out of my apartment. Hi, everyone! Before we dive in, a quick favor. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and ensures you never miss out on amazing videos. All right, let's get started. Hey, everyone! I'm Ethan, a 30-year-old male, and I guess you could say I've been going through it lately. So here's the thing. A few weeks ago, I proposed to my girlfriend of 4 years, Brooke, a 27-year-old female, and it didn't go as planned. Actually, it went completely sideways. And honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what happened. Let me start with some background. Brooke and I met through mutual friends at this small barbecue. We hit it off right away. Same sense of humor, similar life goals, and she was just easy to talk to. Over the years, we built this life together. We talked about everything: marriage, kids, our dream house. Brooke would get excited about wedding stuff even when we weren't actively planning anything. She'd send me links to engagement rings she liked or point out wedding venues when we drove by. It wasn't constant or over the top, but it was clear she wanted that life with me, or so I thought. Fast forward to this year, our 4th anniversary. I figured, okay, it's time to make it official. I started planning the proposal months in advance because I wanted it to be special, not just for her, but for both of us. I'm not great at this romantic stuff, so I got help from my buddies, Kevin and James. They've been my best friends since college, and they were hyped about the whole thing. We planned everything to the last detail. I booked this resort Brooke had mentioned wanting to visit ages ago. It was a little pricey, but I figured it was worth it. Kevin and James helped me pick out the ring, a simple, classic style because Brooke's not into flashy stuff. And we set up this private dinner at the resort with candles, flowers, the whole 9 yards. Here's the part where it gets a little complicated. I didn't just plan a private moment. Brooke's friends, Chloe and Anna, were in on it too. They were supposed to show up after the proposal with drinks and be part of the celebration. My buddies were going to be there too. It wasn't a huge crowd, but enough to make it feel special. The day of the proposal, everything seemed perfect. Brooke was in a great mood. We spent the day relaxing, and I was nervous but excited. When it was time for dinner, I got dressed up and tried to keep my cool. Brooke looked amazing, and I couldn't stop thinking about how lucky I was. So, we get to the setup. Candles, flowers, soft music playing in the background. I made this little speech about how much she meant to me, and then I got down on one knee. I held up the ring and asked her to marry me. And that's when everything went wrong. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no either. She just froze for what felt like forever. Finally, she said, "Ethan, I need more time." It felt like the vibes got completely wrecked. I couldn't even process what she was saying. Her friends, my friends, everyone was there, and I could feel them all staring at us. I felt embarrassed, confused, and honestly pretty hurt. Brooke started apologizing right away, saying she wasn't saying no, she just wasn't ready yet, and that she needed more time. But by that point, I wasn't really listening. I was just trying to keep it together and not completely fall apart in front of everyone. Kevin and James tried to keep things light, joking around to ease the tension, but it didn't help. Chloe and Anna looked just as uncomfortable as I felt. Brooke kept apologizing, and I kept nodding, pretending like everything was fine, but inside I was a mess. We left the dinner early. The car ride back to the hotel was completely silent. I was staring out the window, replaying the whole thing in my head, while Brooke was sitting next to me, probably doing the same. I couldn't even look at her. When we got back to the room, she tried to explain herself again. She said she needed more time to think, that it wasn't about me, and that she just wasn't in the right headspace for a big decision like marriage. But none of it made sense to me. We talked about this stuff for years. She knew I was serious about her, and she'd always acted like she was serious about me too. I asked her straight up, "Do you even want to marry me?" She said yes, but she wasn't ready to say yes right now. And honestly, that answer felt like a slap in the face. You either want to marry someone or you don't, right? It shouldn't be that complicated. We barely spoke the rest of the trip. I felt embarrassed, not just for myself, but for involving all our friends. It was supposed to be this beautiful, life-changing moment, and instead, it felt like a total disaster. When we got back home, things didn't get any better. I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Was it me? Did I move too fast? Did I miss some kind of sign that she wasn't ready? I started replaying our relationship in my head, overanalyzing every conversation, every moment, looking for something I might have overlooked. Brooke, on the other hand, acted like everything was fine. She'd bring me coffee in the morning, ask me how my day was, and try to make small talk, but it all felt off, like we were pretending nothing had happened. I didn't tell anyone about the proposal right away. Not my parents, not my coworkers, no one. The only people who knew were the ones who were there, and even then, I didn't want to talk about it. I felt like such an idiot for thinking everything was perfect when clearly it wasn't. But I reached out to my sister, Jenna. She's always been the bold one in the family, the type to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I figured if anyone could give me some perspective, it'd be her. Little did I know, she was about to make things even more confusing. When I called Jenna, I wasn't even sure how to explain what had happened. It felt embarrassing to admit, like I'd somehow failed. But she could tell something was up as soon as I said, "Hey, you got a minute?" She didn't waste any time, jumping straight to, "What's wrong?" So I told her all of it, the proposal, Brooke's reaction, the silence in the car afterward, and how awkward things had been since we got back. By the time I finished, I was pacing around my apartment, my heart racing like it had all just happened again. There was this long pause on the other end of the line, and I was bracing myself for Jenna to tell me I was overreacting. Instead, she said, "Ethan, I don't want to freak you out, but what Brooke did, that's kind of a red flag." I stopped pacing. "What do you mean?" She sighed. "Look, when a woman hesitates on a proposal, it's usually not just nerves. There's something else going on. Either she's not sure about you, or there's someone else in the picture." My stomach dropped. "Someone else? Are you serious right now?" I couldn't believe it. Like, how could she be thinking of someone else after staying together for 4 years and I'm being committed and actually proposed to her? "I'm not saying she's definitely cheating or anything," Jenna said quickly. "But think about it. You've been together for 4 years, Ethan. 4 years. She knew this was coming. It's not like you blindsided her. And if she's not ready now, what's she waiting for?" Her words hit me harder than I wanted to admit. I didn't want to believe Brooke could be hiding something like that from me, but I couldn't ignore the way Jenna's explanation made sense. Brooke and I had always been solid, or at least I thought we were. But now I was questioning everything. Maybe I rushed it, I said, trying to defend Brooke or maybe myself. Maybe she really just needs time to process. "Ethan, come on," Jenna said, her voice firm. "Do you really believe that? You've been dropping hints for months. You booked a whole trip just to propose. If she wasn't ready, she should have told you before you got down on one knee in front of all those people." Jenna honestly had a point. Brooke had always been straightforward with me about what she wanted, or at least she used to be. Lately, though, things had felt different. I started telling Jenna about the little things that had been bothering me. How Brooke had been working late more often. How she'd started going out with her friends more. How her phone was always on silent. I hadn't thought much of it at the time because I trusted her, but now, with Jenna's words in my head, it all seemed suspicious. "Ethan, I hate to say this, but it sounds like classic girl code," Jenna said. "Girl code?" I asked, confused. "It's when a girl hesitates because she's keeping her options open," she explained. "She's not ready to commit to you because she's not sure you're the only one she wants." I didn't know what to say. The idea of Brooke keeping her options open had me going nuts. She wasn't just my girlfriend. She was my best friend, my partner, the person I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. The thought of her hiding something like that from me made me feel sick. But at the same time, I couldn't just accuse her of something without proof. What if Jenna was wrong? What if Brooke really was just overwhelmed or scared? "I don't know, Jenna," I said finally. "It feels wrong to jump to conclusions. I mean, she's never given me a reason not to trust her." "Has she, though?" Jenna asked. "Think about it. Has she been acting differently lately?" I thought back to the past few months, the late nights, the weekends away, the guarded phone. It all seemed so obvious now, but at the time, I'd brushed it off. I trusted Brooke. I truly loved her. I didn't want to believe she was capable of hurting me like that. "Maybe," I admitted. "But what am I supposed to do? Go through her phone? Spy on her? I feel that would be so stupid." "No," Jenna said firmly. "That's not who you are, and it's not who you want to be. But you need to pay attention, Ethan. If there's something going on, she'll slip up eventually." I didn't want to hear it. I wanted Jenna to tell me I was overthinking everything, that Brooke just needed time and everything would be fine. But deep down, I knew she was right. Something was off, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. After we hung up, I sat on the couch, staring at the ring I'd planned to give Brooke. It was still in its little velvet box, untouched since that night at the resort. I couldn't believe I actually thought everything was all good when it clearly wasn't. What made it worse was how Brooke started watching me, like she was trying to read my mood or figure out what I was thinking. Whenever we were in the same room, I could feel her eyes on me. Sometimes she'd ask if I was okay, but it wasn't in a casual way. It felt loaded, like she was fishing for reassurance. At first, I didn't respond much. I was too frustrated and confused to talk about it. But the more she kept trying to gauge how I felt, the angrier I got. It wasn't just that she was asking. It was the way she did it, like she already knew she'd hurt me and was looking for a way to make herself feel better about it. She dropped these small, almost apologetic comments like, "You've been quiet lately," or "I feel like we haven't talked much." Once she even said, "I hate that things feel weird between us." I didn't know how to respond to that. Things didn't feel weird, they were weird. And the fact that she kept tiptoeing around it instead of addressing it directly made me feel worse. It was like she wanted me to fix something she'd broken. The next few days were brutal. Brooke acted like nothing had happened, like we were fine, but I couldn't stop analyzing every little thing she said or did. When she went out with her friends, I wondered if she was really with them. When she came home late from work, I wondered if she'd really been at the office. I hated myself for thinking that way. Brooke had always been so good to me, so supportive and loving. But now, every time I looked at her, I saw doubt. The worst part was not knowing. Not knowing if Jenna was right. Not knowing if Brooke was hiding something. Not knowing if I'd ever be able to trust her again. I felt stuck, like I was living in this limbo where nothing made sense anymore. I loved Brooke, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Besides that shitty incident, the longer it went on, the more it ate away at me. Tell me, guys, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Update 1. Thank you all for your comments. I didn't expect this to blow up. Here's what happened lately. I didn't know that things were only going to get more complicated. Since my last post, a few days after my conversation with Jenna, I couldn't stop thinking about what she said. Girl code sounded like some kind of made-up thing, but Jenna wasn't the type to throw around baseless ideas, and the way she explained it stuck in my head like glue. I found myself overanalyzing everything Brooke had done over the last few months. I wasn't proud of it, but I couldn't turn it off. Brooke, on the other hand, acted like nothing had changed. She was still polite, still affectionate in that casual way we'd always been with each other, but there was this invisible wall between us now. We didn't talk about the proposal or the trip, and I wasn't about to bring it up. Instead, I started noticing more. She was glued to her phone more than usual, and whenever I'd casually glance her way, she'd lock the screen or flip it face down. It didn't feel right. I started paying attention to the way she'd hesitate before answering certain questions, how she'd keep her explanations short, almost rushed, when I asked how her day was. But even then, I couldn't be sure. I kept telling myself there were other explanations. Maybe she was embarrassed about the proposal. Maybe she was overwhelmed and didn't know how to deal with it. Maybe I was just being paranoid because of what Jenna had planted in my head. Then Jenna flipped the switch. She texted me. I was at work, pretending to focus on emails, but really just staring at my screen, replaying the last few weeks in my head. The notification popped up. We need to talk about Brooke. I heard something. My stomach sank. Jenna wasn't one for drama or vague messages, so I knew this wasn't going to be good. I stepped out of the office and called her right away. She didn't waste time. I was talking to one of my friends, and Brooke's name came up. Apparently, she's been spending a lot of time with some guy from work. Like, a lot. I didn't say anything at first. My mind was racing, trying to connect dots that hadn't even been there 5 seconds ago. What does that mean? I finally asked. Jenna explained that her friend, who worked in a different department at Brooke's company, had mentioned seeing Brooke out at lunch with this guy more than a few times. Nothing suspicious on the surface, but Jenna's friend thought it was odd because apparently they looked close. I didn't know what to do with that information. Lunch with a coworker didn't mean anything, right? People go to lunch with coworkers all the time. But Jenna's friend wasn't just some random person. She was reliable, honest. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a coincidence. That night, I tried to act normal around Brooke, but it felt impossible. Every time her phone buzzed, every time she mentioned work, I found myself wondering if she was talking to him, whoever he was. She mentioned a late meeting the next day, and instead of just nodding like I usually did, I felt this knot in my stomach. After Brooke went to bed, I stayed up, thinking about everything Jenna had told me. If I confronted Brooke, what was I even going to say? Hey, I heard from my sister's friend that you've been hanging out with some guy from work. Is there something you want to tell me? It sounded ridiculous, like I was grasping at straws. But at the same time, I couldn't ignore it. The next day, I decided to call Jenna again. I needed more context, more details, something concrete to go on. When I asked, she hesitated at first, like she didn't want to make things worse. But eventually, she admitted that her friend had seen Brooke and the guy at a coffee shop after work once. And it wasn't just any coffee shop. It was one Brooke and I used to go to all the time when we first started dating. That hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't proof of anything, but it felt intentional, like a small piece of our life together had been used for something else, something that didn't include me. I started questioning every decision I'd made in the past few weeks. Should I have paid more attention? Should I have asked more questions? Maybe Jenna's girl code theory wasn't just some random idea. Maybe it was the explanation I didn't want to believe but couldn't ignore. By the weekend, I felt like I was losing my grip. Brooke had been distant all week, but not in an obvious way. She still smiled at me, still asked about my day, but there was this detachment, like she was going through the motions. Jenna texted me again on Sunday, "You need to talk to her. If she's hiding something, she's not going to admit it unless you push." But I didn't know how to push without crossing a line. I didn't want to be the guy who accuses his girlfriend of something without evidence. At the same time, I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. I'm in a tough position, but I feel like soon I will make my decision. I'll keep you guys updated. Update 2. Hey guys! First off, thank you for all the support and advice on my last post. I've spent the past few days trying to process everything, your perspective, and I decided to confront Brooke, like most of you suggested, but let me tell you what happened before that. After a few days since Jenna sent me that text, I'd had enough. The tension in the apartment was suffocating, and I wasn't going to keep it low. Brooke was going through her routines like we were fine. Like her brushing off my proposal wasn't the giant red flag that it clearly was. I couldn't pretend anymore. Couldn't just sit there like I was okay with being treated as some backup plan while she figured out her life. I'd spent weeks replaying that moment. Me on one knee, pouring my heart out, and her looking at me like I was asking for a favor instead of committing to a future together. It wasn't just about the hesitation, it was about what it meant. She was still unsure about me, not even after 4 years, not after everything we'd built. I mean, how many years does she need to make sure I'm the one? That's ridiculous. And now she was distant, quiet, and acting like she had no clue what the problem was. That night, after dinner, I sat across from her at the table. She was scrolling on her phone like she always did, completely checked out. I wasn't going to wait for the right moment. This was the moment. "We need to talk," I said, leaning forward. She glanced up, caught off guard. "About what? Are you seeing someone else?" I asked, flat out. Her jaw dropped. She set her phone down slowly, like she was trying to buy time. "What are you talking about? Why would you even ask me that?" "Because nothing about us feels right anymore," I said, my tone sharp. "You've been distant for weeks. You shut me out after the proposal, and now it feels like you're just waiting for something better or someone better. And if that's what's happening, I need to know." Her face hardened. "You really think I'd cheat on you?" "Maybe not outright," I said, folding my arms. "But let's not act like this coworker of yours hasn't come up. Jenna told me about the coffee shop. You didn't tell me you were spending time with him. Why is that?" Brooke let out a sharp breath, like she was trying to keep her composure. "Because it's not a big deal," she said. "We're working on a project together. That's all it is." "Then why hide it?" I asked, leaning forward. "Why keep it a secret if it's so innocent?" "I wasn't hiding it," she snapped. "I just didn't think you needed to know every detail of my work life." "That's not the point, Brooke," I said, my voice rising. "The point is, you've been acting like I'm the only one fighting for this relationship, and I'm done with it. If this guy isn't a big deal, fine. But you didn't say yes to my proposal. You asked for more time. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? How it felt to stand there thinking I'd planned this perfect moment, only for you to tell me you weren't ready?" "I wasn't ready," she said, her voice defensive. "And I told you that. It's not because of someone else. It's because I needed to think." "Think about what?" I shot back. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're thinking about whether or not you even want to be with me. And if that's the case, just say it. Don't string me along while you figure out your life." "I'm not stringing you along," she said. "I've been trying to sort through everything in my head, but you're turning this into something it's not." "Don't gaslight me," I said, my voice cold. "You've been pulling away from me for weeks, and if it's not because of this guy, then what is it?" "Because I'm tired of the guessing games." Brooke stood up, crossing her arms. "You want to know why I hesitated?" she said. "Fine. I hesitated because marriage is a big deal, because it's permanent, and I wasn't sure I was ready to make that commitment. Not because of you, not because of anyone else, because of me." Her words hit me, but they didn't land the way she probably thought they would. I stood up too, meeting her gaze. "So what you're saying is after 4 years, you're still not sure about me?" "That's not what I'm saying," she said quickly. "I love you, Ethan, I do. But I wasn't ready for that moment." "Well, I was," I said, my tone sharp. "And I thought we were on the same page. I wouldn't have asked you if I thought for a second that you didn't feel the same way. It took me only 6 months to be sure about you. But I gave it more time for you to feel ready. But now I'm questioning everything. I'm questioning if you even see a future with me or if I'm just the guy you're settling for while you figure out your options." Brooke's face fell, but I wasn't about to back down. "You've made me feel like I'm not enough," I continued. "Like I'm just here to fill a void until you decide what you really want. And I can't live like that, Brooke. I deserve better." "I never meant to make you feel that way," she said quietly. "But you did," I said, "and now I have to decide if I can even stay in this relationship knowing that I'm not your first choice." Her eyes widened slightly, and for the first time I saw real fear in them. "Ethan, you are my choice. I've just been confused." I cut her off. "Yeah, I get it, but here's the thing. I'm not confused. I know what I want. I want someone who's sure about me, someone who doesn't need time to decide if I'm worth committing to. And if you can't be that person, then I don't know what we're doing here." Brooke didn't respond. She just stood there, her expression a mix of guilt and frustration. The silence stretched between us, heavy and unrelenting. Finally, I stepped back. "I'm going to give you some time to think," I said, "but I'm not going to wait forever. If you can't give me a real answer soon, an answer that tells me you're all in, then I'm done." With that, I left the room, heading to the bedroom to clear my mind. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I'd taken control of the situation. Whether Brooke stayed or not, I wasn't going to keep feeling like a second option. Whatever was going to happen next, it was going to be on my terms. Final update. Hey guys, I thought I'd give you an update since most of you are asking what I did. Well, honestly, I wasn't proud of how heated things got, but at the same time, I didn't regret saying what I needed to say. For weeks, hell, maybe months, I'd been bottling up all this frustration and confusion, the proposal, the hesitation, her distance afterward, and now this shadow of doubt hovering over us. I couldn't ignore it anymore, and asking her directly about the coworker had been inevitable. The thing that bothered me the most wasn't even her vague answer about him. It was her overall hesitation about us, about marriage, about everything. I wasn't asking her to marry me tomorrow. I just needed to know that we were heading in the same direction. Her saying she wasn't ready felt like she wasn't ready for me. After sitting there for a while, I decided I needed to clear my head. I didn't want to call Jenna. I needed to hear from someone else. So I texted Kevin, since he was in on the proposal and knew what happened. "Hey, can we talk? Need some advice." Kevin was one of those friends who didn't sugarcoat things, and that's what I needed right now. When he called me a few minutes later, I stepped out onto the balcony to avoid waking Brooke, even though I doubted she was sleeping after our fight. I filled him in on everything: Brooke's hesitation after the proposal, her recent distance, and the conversation we just had. Kevin let me vent without interrupting, which was exactly what I needed. When I finally finished, he sighed. "Ethan, I'm going to be honest with you. You're doing the right thing by standing up for yourself. If she's not sure about you after 4 years, that's a problem. I get that marriage is a big step, but she should at least want to take that step with you. The fact that she's hesitating, that's not something you can just ignore." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Yeah, I know, but it's hard. I don't want to just throw away everything we've built, you know?" "I get it," he said, "but you also don't want to spend years with someone who's not all in. You deserve better than that." I ended the call and walked back into the living room. Brooke was still sitting on the couch, clutching a blanket like it was her shield against what was coming. Her phone was still untouched on the table, the light from the TV flickering over her face. She looked up as I walked in, her eyes darting to me nervously. For weeks, I'd been holding back, giving her space, trying to understand her hesitation. But after everything, it was clear I couldn't keep doing this. "We need to talk," I said. She nodded, her hands twisting the edge of the blanket. "I know," she said softly. I sat down, trying to be reasonable. "Brooke," I started, "I've been patient. I've been giving you time, trying to figure out what's going on with us. But I'm at my limit. You've been distant ever since the proposal. I've tried to understand. I've tried to give you the benefit of the doubt, but it feels like you're not even trying anymore." She didn't say anything, her eyes glued to the blanket in her lap. "I need to know," I continued, my voice tightening. "Are you in this or not? Because I can't keep waking up every day wondering if you're just waiting for a better option to come along." "It's not like that," she said quickly, looking up at me. "Then what is it like, Brooke?" I shot back. "Because from where I'm sitting, it feels a hell of a lot like I'm being strung along while you figure out your life, and I can't do that anymore. I won't." "Ethan," she said, "I don't know how to say this." "Just say it," I said, my tone sharp. "Whatever it is, just say it for God's sake. I'm done with the games." So she hit me with it. "I've been seeing someone," she admitted, her words barely audible. I froze. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her, but then the weight of her words hit me like a sledgehammer. "What?" I said. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with guilt and tears. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said quickly. It happened, and I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you. At that point, I lost it. There was no way I was taking this calmly." "Didn't want to hurt me?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You didn't want to hurt me, so you decided to sneak around behind my back instead? And playing with me until I kneel down and propose, only for you to say, 'I'm not sure'? Do you even hear yourself, Brooke?" "I'm not with him," she said desperately. "I'm not sure about him either. That's the problem. I don't know what I want, Ethan. You don't know what you want? I said, standing up abruptly. After 4 years, after everything we've built together, you don't know what you want? Do you have any idea how pathetic that sounds? She flinched, but I didn't care. I was done holding back. I was ready to spend my life with you, I continued, my voice shaking with anger. I was ready to build a future with you. And while I was planning our next steps, you were out not being sure about someone else. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is for me? I didn't mean for it to get this far, she said, tears streaming down her face now. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. But it did, I said, cutting her off. You let it happen. And then you sat here, day after day, pretending like everything was fine while you ripped this relationship apart behind my back. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking. Sorry? I said bitterly. You're sorry? Do you think that changes anything? Do you think that fixes the fact that you've been lying to me, that you've been lying to yourself? She didn't respond, just sat there, shaking. I can't do this anymore, I said, my tone colder now. You're not sure about him? Fine. But the fact that you were even in a position to make that comparison tells me everything I need to know about where we stand. Ethan, please, she said, standing up now, reaching toward me. We can work through this. I'll stop seeing him. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. No, Brooke, I said firmly, stepping back. You don't get to fix this. You don't get to sit here and decide now, after everything, that I'm the one you want. Her face crumpled, but I didn't let it sway me. Get out of my house, I said, my voice like steel. Her eyes widened, panic flashing across her face. Ethan, please, don't do this. You did this, I said, pointing at her. You made this choice the moment you decided I wasn't enough for you. You made this choice the moment you let someone else into our relationship. So, don't stand here and act like I'm the bad guy. Pack your things and go. She hesitated, but when she saw the resolve in my face, she nodded slowly. Without another word, she turned and walked toward the bedroom. I stood there, listening as she packed her things, my heart heavy but resolute. When she finally walked out the door, she paused, looking at me one last time. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I didn't respond. I just closed the door behind her, locking it and leaning against it as the weight of everything settled over me. The apartment was quiet now, but for the first time in weeks, the silence felt like peace. That night she left my life. I called Jenna, just to assure her it was not the coworker we were debating, it was another guy. Writing this now seems pathetic and laughable. Anyway, I told her everything, how Brooke admitted to seeing someone else but claimed it wasn't serious, and how I couldn't stay in a relationship with someone who treated me like an option. Jenna was shocked at the beginning but also supportive. You did the right thing. You deserve better. A few days later, I got a call from Brooke's sister, Ella. She wanted to know what happened. I explained everything, her hesitation at the proposal, her confession, and my decision to end things. To my surprise, Ella said, I'm sorry, Ethan. You didn't deserve that. Brooke's been lost lately, and I hope she figures it out, but you made the right choice. Since then, I've been focusing on myself. I sold that doomed engagement ring. It felt like holding on to a very bad memory in my life, so there was no need for it. The money's in savings now, a reminder to invest in my future instead of clinging to the past. It hasn't been easy. Some days, I replay everything in my head, wondering if I could have done something differently. But deep down, I know this wasn't about me. Brooke's hesitation and choices were hers, not a reflection of my worth. I'm not ready to date again yet, but that's okay. For now, I'm taking time to heal and rebuild. To everyone who's been following my story, thank you. Your advice and support gave me the strength to stand up for myself. If you're in a similar situation, trust your instincts. You deserve someone who's all in. No doubts, no hesitation. It's hard to let go, but sometimes it's the only way forward. Life isn't perfect, but I'm learning to embrace the uncertainty one day at a time. Here's to new beginnings.